makers, Lisa here from Andrie Designs. Today I have a quick little tutorial for you on how to create a handle or strap using directional fabric. So we're going to go through how to cut your pieces to ensure the fabric and the print on the fabric runs in the right direction once your handle or strap is attached to your bag and essentially folded in half, and also how to join them with a really nice diagonal seam to reduce bulk once it's all folded up together. It's really quick and easy, so let's get started. Okay, so to cut and create a handle or strap out of directional fabric, what we're going to do is we're essentially going to cut two pieces for the handle or strap, and we're going to join them at the top with a discrete diagonal seam, ensuring or making sure that when the strap or handle is then attached to the bag, the print is running in the correct direction down both sides, instead of it being correct as you go up the first side and then the print being downwards as you come down the second side. So to do that, instead of cutting one continuous length for your handle or strap, you'll cut two pieces and then we'll join them together. For this video, I'm making the S&S tote, and I'll pop a link to that pattern in the description below. And the strap required for that bag is 6 inches wide. So I'm going to cut two strips out of my directional fabric 6 inches wide. I'm also going to go one step further, and I'm going to fussy cut them so that this row of cactus runs directly down what will be the outer edge of the folded strap. So once the strap is folded in half and then in half again, with the edge, all the raw edges tucked in, I want one lot of cactus to be running down the outside, or what will be the outer edge of the strap. So that means that I need to make sure that my cactus are sitting under the second or third inner quarter of that 6 inches. So for me, I need to make sure that one row is sitting either between 1.5 and 3 inches or between 3 and 4.5 inches. So I know once it's all folded together, the cactus are sitting in the right spot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler. Remember, my finished width for my strap needs to be 6 inches. So I'm just going to have a look and see if I take off the 1/2 inch, because this is a 6.5 inch ruler. If I go from this edge into 1.5 and then to my 3, it looks like this row of cactus is sitting really nicely between that gap. And I don't have too much waste on this side. If I was to come right up next to the edge of the fabric and go 1.5 to 3, so the row of cactus there is sitting off center, and I don't want that. So I'm going to have to go back to my original guess, which means I've only got a little bit wasted, so that's not too bad. So all we're going to do is I'm going to center that really nicely between my 1.5 and 3. So this will be the outer edge of the strap once it's finished and sewn together. So that's nicely centered. All I'm going to do is go ahead and I'm going to cut that, and then I'm going to cut a second one as well, so that we have two pieces. Before we cut the second one though, I'll talk through how I fussy cut that to ensure the cactus are all in a nice line over the strap. Now that we have the first piece cut, we need to cut the second for the second half of the strap. Because I'm fussy cutting the cactus, this time round I'm going to make sure that my outer edge, where the cactus will be, is actually on the other side, so that when the pieces are joined, so remember on this cut piece, this row is going to be the outer edge of the strap. So when they're joined, I need to make sure that the cactus that I cut off this piece is down the right hand side to line up with these ones. So because this, if this was joined, I'd be a bit short, so I'm actually going to have to use this one here. So I'll cut those, making sure they're on the right hand, or the third quarter I suppose, of my 6 inch piece, so that the cactus are all matchy at the top. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my second piece. So I'm going to line my ruler up, and I want that row from 3 to 4.5 inches in that space. So I'm just going to line that up there. Center it as best I can. That looks pretty good. And I'm going to cut my piece 6 inches wide, just like the first piece. So there we have my 2 pieces, and we can double check that we've got it correct by placing them head to head. And the 2 rows of cactus, which will be the top or the outside of the strap, are here and they line up perfectly. So that's really good. So from here, we're going to go ahead and join them. You'll notice that I've got a fixed amount of fabric, so that's what I'm using to cut my straps out of. However, if you have a really long piece of fabric that you're just cutting a small piece out of, I suggest you cut the length of your strap. So if your strap was, say, 10 inches long, or 20, let's say 20 inches long, so you're going to cut each piece 10 inches, because remember we're cutting half and half. Plus you need to add a little bit more on to allow for placement for when we join them, which is what we're going to do next. So I always like to add the width of the strap about 1.5 times that. So if your strap, like mine, is 6 inches wide, you'll need to add 9 inches extra onto each half, just to make sure you've got enough to play with. So if you were cutting a 10 and a 10, you would cut 19 and 19. You'd rather have your strap slightly too long and be able to cut it down rather than be too short and have to add lots of pieces together. So to join our 2 strap pieces together to create that diagonal top seam, and then as a result ensuring the fabric is in the right direction, what we're going to do is first we need to square up the top edge of each strip that you have cut. So just using your ruler and your rotary cutter, just square them up if you haven't already done so. Alright, from here we're going to lay them down as if they were stitched together so that we know they're orientated correctly. And then from there, what we're going to do is we're actually going to basically join these as you would for creating a length of bias or a straight piece of fabric that you want to have a join on the diagonal to make it longer. We join on the diagonal to reduce bulk once it's all folded together. If you join straight across, you end up with, in this case, 4 lots of a seam all in the one spot, and it gets thick and chunky and it doesn't look very nice and it's not very professional. So joining on the diagonal is always the better way to go if you can. So having your 2 pieces, make sure that they're both pointing, or the direction is both in, so you've got the tops of each piece of fabric head to head. All we're going to do is we're going to take one and fold it up and over, out on a 45 or 90 degrees, sorry, so that they're right sides together and these 2 corners are meeting. We're just going to match up the raw edges along both the top and the side. And then all I'm going to do, because I want to fussy join where my cactus sit, all I'm going to do, essentially we're going to stitch from this top corner to this bottom corner. So I'm going to just mock fold my fabric back at what will be my stitching line to see where it's going to sit. Because I have some cactus which are sort of cut off with the current fold, what I'm actually going to do is move the whole join along so that I get a nice join in the black space. So to do that, if you want to do that for your directional fabric, all you need to do is fold your piece back so they're right sides together. Line up your bottom piece with the marks on your cutting mat, which makes it the easiest way to do it. And then all we're going to do is move this top piece. The rule of thumb is however far you move it this way along, you need to move it the same distance across this way as well. So I'm going to, the cactus are a good couple of inches wide or tall, so I'm going to start with say 2 inches along and 2 inches this way. So making sure my pieces stay nice and square on my mat. That means they'll stay nice and square with each other. And then I'm going to repeat the process. It's a bit of a trial and error. So I'm going to fold this out until the raw edges of this top piece match the raw edges of the bottom piece, giving us a nice 45-degree line. And you can see I've still got overlap of the print. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to try another inch. So 3 inches in that way and 3 inches this way, squaring up all my fabric with each other. Again, folding it back, matching the raw edges of the top piece with the raw edge of the bottom. Oh, we've almost got it. I've just got a little bit left. So I might just try a 1/2 inch this time. So the total would be 3.5 and 1/2 inch that way. Yep. Everything's nice and square with each other. Fold this one back. This is a bit of a fussy process, but it gives such a great result. I really think it's just worth it. Oh, look at that, beautiful. Black and black. No cactus has been cut off. That looks really good. So that's going to be my stitching line there. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm just going to carefully fold that back up. I'm going to make sure that my fabrics are still nice and square with each other at 3.5 in. Then I'm going to draw a stitching line from this top right hand corner down to this bottom left. So just using your ruler, draw your line, and then I'm going to pin it in place. And that is what I'm going to stitch to join my 2 pieces together. So this is another reason we add that extra length on at the start, is to allow, because this is going to be cut off and that's going to be cut off, so we needed that extra room to play to ensure we get a nice join for fussy cutting. If you have a print that doesn't have specific start and ends like this one, you could just join them right from the top and that would be absolutely fine. So pause the video, pop over to your machine and stitch on top of the line you've drawn using a normal stitch length of about 2 to 2.5 millimeters, and then pop back here and we'll continue with the next step. Once you've stitched your 2 pieces together on the diagonal, it should look something like this. All you need to do now is trim this excess fabric off. So I'm left-handed, I'm just going to rotate my piece, just using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, so you don't want too much bulk in the seam there. Those pieces are spare. And then when you open your beautiful little seam out on the diagonal, you have a nicely joined strap, remembering this is going to be the top and your fabric is running in the correct direction for both sides. All you need to do from here is give your seam a little press open so it sits nice and flat, and then your strap will be ready to use for your pattern. If you need to add further lengths on for some reason, you can go ahead and repeat the exact same process to lengthen your strap. Otherwise, that is how you create a strap using directional fabric. And just remember to give your seam a really good press open, if you can get the fabric open, prior to fusing your interfacing. Just helps it sit really nice and flat, so once it's all tucked in and folded, there's no huge bulk in the middle. Okay. And that's all there is to it. You now have a beautiful length of fabric ready to be folded and stitched into a handle or strap, and you know that once it's folded in half and attached to your bag, your direction of your fabric, or the direction of the print, will be running up the right way on both sides. And you've got a lovely discreet diagonal seam across the back, so once your fabric is folded, it will really reduce the bulk and give a really professional finish. I hope you found this video helpful, and I hope you've learned a few little tips and tricks. And until next time, happy sewing!